The 4th issue of the Clone Wars Battletale comic has finally been released, and with it, we were introduced to 6 new clone troopers, including 2 new members of the 501st. The story follows a squad of clones who deserted the Grand Army of the Republic very early on in the war, but were caught and captured by the Republic, dragging them back to face punishment on Kamino. Fortunately, Commander Wolfe gives these clone deserters a final chance to redeem their actions by going on a mission together to break into a Separatist weapons storage warehouse. So, I'm going to break down exactly how this clone deserter squad infiltrated a Separatist weapon depot and were able to overcome their fear of war. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below for more incredible Star Wars lore content. We are thrown right into the tropical world of Hisseen, this time on the front line of the battle with Captain Rex and Hardcase. Rex, Hardcase, and the 501st are staring down a fierce horde of Separatist battle droids, but Rex warns his men that they must hold their position until backup arrives. Hardcase acts in his typical way, begging for more clankers to come at him because he loves having more targets to hit. One of the other troopers of the 501st, named Twitch, then voices his concern about the strategy, saying that there is absolutely no way they can hold this position with the amount of Separatist droids coming towards them. Twitch continues to urge Captain Rex to retreat from the front lines of the battle, but this sends the clone trooper Heda, who we also haven't seen before, into a deep rage. Heda grabs Twitch by the neck and furiously questions why he was asking to retreat and abandon the mission. Captain Rex then quickly moves in to break up the fight, telling his men to save their anger for the Separatist enemies that are quickly approaching. Unfortunately though, Heda just can't let this point go and is absolutely disgusted that this low-ranking clone trooper wants to run away. And now we're about to find out exactly why Heda is getting so angry about this trooper wanting to retreat from the battlefield. Heda is actually a former deserter himself and knows what it is like to betray his brothers, and now that he has redeemed himself, he is deeply offended at the suggestion of abandoning the mission. We now cut straight into a flashback where Heda tells the story of his desertion and capture on Kamino. The newest batch of fresh clone troopers are eating in the cafeteria of the Kamino training facility when a clone trooper named Slim calls out Heda and his group for being a lousy bunch of deserters. Heda hears the remark and asks Slim to repeat what he just said. In response, Slim goes even further, calling the clone deserters cowards and disgraces to the clone army. This sends Heda into a strong rage, leading him to coldly punch Slim in the face, knocking him to the hard, shiny floor of the cafeteria. In the background, you can see the other clones cheering on the fight, which is just hilarious. Heda then pins the injured Slim up against the wall and says, "Call me a deserter all you want, but you will not call me a coward." He goes on to say that he never asked to fight in this war and shouldn't be forced to. Slim then manages to get back on his feet, firmly pushing Heda back, angrily telling him that he abandoned his brothers, but is unable to finish his sentence before the fight is broken up by Commander Wolfe wearing his original red Wolf pack armor. It's honestly so cool to see Wolfe back in action with his red painted helmet and armor. All the clones in the room quickly move their hand to their head to salute the higher ranking officer before Wolfe calls Heda to come into his office to discuss the situation. As the two enter Commander Wolfe's plain office, he tells him that the other clones around the galaxy look down on deserters with disgust because of their actions. Heda tells Commander Wolfe that he doesn't fully understand why he actually deserted because he knows that the clones were specifically created for war, but can't stop wondering whether he would actually choose to fight if he had a choice. Commander Wolfe then quizzically responds with, "And what would you do?" Heda is deeply conflicted and doesn't know how to respond to Wolfe's question. He doesn't know whether or not his decision to desert the clone army earlier in the war was a smart decision or a terrible mistake. Because Commander Wolfe can clearly see that Heda is not a bad man and is simply conflicted, he puts an offer on the table. Wolfe tells Heda that he will have an opportunity to go on a mission with his fellow deserters to clear his name and to redeem himself in the eyes of his brothers. Wolfe then asks him if he is ready to take on this massive responsibility, to which he enthusiastically says yes. We then cut straight onto a Republic gunship carrying the group of clone deserters called Heda's squad because he was assigned to be the leader of the group. Heda's squad is made up of 4 clones: Heda himself, Trooper Sync, Trooper Charlie, and Trooper Racetrack. We haven't seen any of these clone troopers appear before, so that's really awesome. After you finish the story, make sure you let me know which one is your favorite. Heda begins giving a briefing to his squad, telling them that a large Separatist weapons depot below has a direct supply line to a nearby planet which the Republic is trying to liberate. He tells his men that if they cut off the supply of weapons to the droid army, their clone brothers on the other planet might have a chance. Racetrack then speaks up, telling Heda that he can continue living this fantasy all he wants, but he knows the truth. He thinks the Republic only sent these troopers out on a mission as a way to wash their hands of the deserters. They will either desert once again or be killed on the mission, removing the troubled troopers from the Republic either way. As they continue their conversation, their gunship is abruptly shaken as a superheated blaster bolt from a Separatist tank below blows a smoking hole in its side. The clones are plunging towards the ground incredibly quickly, causing Sync to panic. Fortunately, all 4 brothers manage to land on the city streets below and begin to move out. Heda urges his men to move quickly because it's only a matter of time before the Separatists Separatists realize they have arrived and send vulture droids out to kill them. As they continue to sneak towards the Separatist base, Racetrack continues to voice his doubts and tells his squad members that he is going to desert the Grand Army once more. This severely disappoints his brothers because they gave their word to Commander Wolfe that they would see their mission through to the end. Sink and the other two vow to fight for their brothers until their deaths, but Racetrack is still not buying it and plans to desert once again. As the squad moves in, an ST series super tactical droid begins to perform calculations on whether or not the clones will be successful in moving in. He dismisses the threat, but does alert all of his droid units to be on high alert in case the clones try an unexpected tactic, which of course they do. Racetrack then walks up to the two B1 battle droids guarding the door of the weapons depot, holding two of his brother's helmets in his hands, telling them that he has a present for them. He quickly hands the white helmets to the droids before revealing that inside each one is a high power blast charge which is primed and ready to blow at any moment. Racetrack rushes out of the area before a monstrous orange fireball bursts from the area, alerting all other droid forces. At this point, Racetrack has abandoned the group and doesn't plan to return. The other three clones then jump over a nearby wall before making their way inside of a large, open, lower level room in the facility. They attach their magnetic blast charges to the main power supply unit of the facility, preparing to crumble the entire area to millions of pieces once they set it off. The clones don't have much time to think, however, as the super tactical droid quickly arrives, surrounding the brothers with his droid forces. Heda refuses to surrender, threatening the tactical droid with the possibility of blowing the whole place to pieces with the press of a button. Before either can react to the situation, however, Racetrack has a change of heart, returning and blasting the heads off the surrounding battle droids. Heda then holds his blaster rifle to the head of the tactical droid, telling him that clones will always stick together. Heda then blasts the tactical droid through the head before the whole squad rush out of the large metal building and press the button on their detonator. The entire area is engulfed in a tremendous blast of fire and pressure, sending pieces of the droid factory flying rapidly through the air. The others then ask Racetrack why he decided to come back and save their lives, to which he tells them initially that he realized they were his only ride off the planet, but then he quickly changes tone and admits that he felt he had to protect his brothers. Commander Wolfe then arrives on the planet, telling the men that they did a fantastic job and are now free from any further punishment on Kamino. He also tells them that they can now choose to either live their lives how they want or join back up with the Grand Army of the Republic and be forgiven. The brothers are inspired by their brave actions on the redemption mission and choose to return home to Kamino to re-enlist in the Grand Army of the Republic. We then cut straight back to the battle on Hisseen, but obviously only a few moments have passed in real time because the story was a flashback. Unfortunately, Heda then takes a droid blaster bolt to the chest and is horribly injured. Twitch, who he was arguing with only moments earlier, comes to his aid and tries to help him, but three B1 battle droids surround them, ready to fire. Luckily, Commander Cody and Commander Wolfe appear from the bushes, killing the droids. Wolfe remarks that it's good to see Heda again, many months after sending him on that harsh mission with his deserter brothers. The story then ends with another incredibly massive blast, throwing dirt all around and burying Captain Rex alive under the ground. We'll have to wait until the next issue, which is also the final issue, to see how Rex escapes. Thanks so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed it. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.